Hello everyone! So in this video, I will be picking back up in the last video of For the Rise of Nine by Pittacus Lore. Again, I do apologize. I know it has been so long, but going forward, I should be able to continue just reading as normal and reading a lot more often and posting videos regularly. Okay, so in the last video for this book, we read chapter 11. We finished chapter 11. In this one, we will be reading chapter 12, starting with chapter 12. And let's see, probably, I'm going to try to get I'm going to try to read a good length video. So, okay, without further ado, I'd say we're probably at about 20 seconds or so. Alright. Chapter 12. We jumped a freight train in West Virginia. I've been trying to sleep, but too many thoughts are swirling around in my mind. I squint as my eyes adjust to the morning sun coming through the slatted door. I'm relieved to see we're still headed west. That's all Special Agent Walker said before disappearing. West. So that's where we're going. I try not to think about the possibility that she may have deliberately misled us, and instead focus on how she thought she was about to die and had nothing left to lose, and therefore no reason to lie to me. I roll onto my back. The ceiling of the train car is dirty, stained a variety of colors. I stare at a dark blue spot directly above my head for so long, I finally drift off to sleep. I dream, which I often do. But this one is different, more of a nightmare than a vision. I'm in West Virginia, back in the prison cell. Only this time, it is empty and brightly lit from above. The spherical cage that held Sam is now empty. The only indication he was ever there is a pool of still wet blood on the floor. I walk into the middle of the cell, look around frantically and try to scream his name. But as soon as I open my mouth, the bright lights from above are sucked into my throat, stealing my breath, choking me. I fall to my hands and knees, trying to get some air. Still gasping, I look up. Now I'm in a large arena with thousands of Mogadorians going wild in the stands. They chant and throw things down at me while fights break out among them. The floor is a shiny black slab of rock. I rise from all fours shakily. When I take one step forward, the ground behind me falls away, leaving only a black abyss. Above me is a giant hole, and through this hole I see a group of clouds moving across a blue sky. It takes me a moment to realize where I am, inside the peak of a mountain. 4! It's Nine's voice. 9! I'm not alone. I look around and try to yell back, but my throat is still clogged. A beam of light escapes my mouth. Instinctively, I twist around and try to aim the light until it finally lands on 9. He's on the other side of the arena, but something is blocking my view of him. It's Sam. He's hanging between us, his wrists in shackles. Agent Purdy and Special Agent Walker stand below him, their Mogadorian cannons aimed at Sam's chest. I don't hesitate. I run to my best friend, the rock falling away behind me with every step I take. The roar of the crowd escalates until it's absolutely deafening. When I've almost reached him, the black rock where the agents stand drops away and they fall with it. "Help! Help me, please! Help me!" Sam yells, his body twisting, trying to break free from the shackles. I try to use my telekinesis to free him, but it doesn't work. I try to use my lumen, but my palms remain dark. My legacies are failing me. "Bring the rest, John," Sam says to me. "Bring them all." His voice sounds strange, like it's not his. It's almost like someone or something evil is speaking through him. Suddenly, the tan, thin boy who appeared in my last vision is next to me. Once again, he's transparent, like a ghost. When I see he's wearing a Loric pendant around his neck, I reach out for him. But he shakes his head at me and places a finger to his lips. The boy leaps onto Sam and climbs up his legs and body until he can get his hands around the chains. I watch him strain, trying to pull apart the shackles, and I can see the surprise on his face when he realizes he doesn't have the strength to do it. In my last vision, he asked me what number I was, and I feel an enormous pull to speak to him. I cough, clear my throat, and I know my voice has finally returned. I yell, "I'm number 4!" just as the arena falls silent. "Have you made your decision?" Sam asks. He continues to twist and turn in his shackles, the other boy still struggling to break his chains above him. Sam looks right at me, and I can see his eyes are a deep maroon color. This is not Sam, I tell myself. All at once, Sam's body begins shaking so violently that the other boy loses his grip on him, and I can only watch in horror as he falls and disappears into the same chasm that swallowed the agents. A purple glow then surrounds Sam, and the chains break of their own accord. Instead of falling like the boy, like the agents, Sam floats suspended in midair. A spotlight snaps on, and I watch, disbelievingly, as Sam grows and transforms into Setrekas Ra. The 3 Loric pendants around Setrekas Ra's neck glow brightly, as does the purple scar circling his throat. "Do you want the human back?" he bellows. "I will take him back!" I yell at him, furious. I'm rooted to the spot, nothing but abyss around me, nowhere to step on to get closer to him. Setrekas Ra floats slowly to the ground. He lands, and the rocks show no sign of giving way, as they have for the rest of us. "This is your surrender? Fine. I shall accept your pendant now." I look down, and my pendant is already gone. I look up again to see it hanging from Setrekas Ra's giant fist. His cracked lips open to reveal a sharp, crooked-toothed grin. "No! I will not surrender!" The moment I say it, I feel a sudden weight around my neck. My pendant is back. The other boy leaps from the chasm into which he fell and lands near Setrekas Ra, his head held high. The boy joins my cry. "I will never surrender to you! Let Devden go and fight me!" "Time is running out," Setrekas Ra says, and I now realize he is speaking to both of us, that he has been the whole time. He was trying to get both of us to surrender. Did he think he could convince us both to sacrifice ourselves in the belief that he would allow the others to live? I can only hope none of the others fall for his tricks. The blue stain on the ceiling of the train car is suddenly all I see, and I sit up abruptly, trying to shake off the dream that has left my brain fuzzy. I touch the bracelet around my wrist. Before I drifted off into my vision, my nightmare, I had discovered that by concentrating on the bracelet's abilities, I was able to remove it, but the moment it left my wrist, I felt unsafe without it and hurriedly popped it back on. I touch it again and wonder if my reliance on it is a good thing or a bad thing. All of a sudden, something small bumps against my back, and I jump up and spin around. Clearly, I'm on edge from my dream. It's just Bernie Kosar, this time as a beagle, my favorite incarnation of him. "Another nightmare?" Nine yawns from the corner. He sits on his chest, absent-mindedly carving symbols into the wall with a nail, the very picture of someone who is not on edge. The soles of his bare feet are black. "They're getting really strange," I say, and I hope I don't sound as shaken as I feel. Last thing I need is Nine seeing me as some kid scared by bad dreams. And I think others are having them at the same time. Nine lifts the nail to examine it more closely. He tilts his head, as if it's a rare specimen and not the most ordinary object in the world. With his tongue sticking out of the corner of his mouth, he looks as if he is concentrating all of his energies on this one nail. With a small smile, he bends it between his fingers, snapping it into 2 perfectly equal pieces. He turns to face me. "And what does that mean? You think they're all having visions of some kind? Or they're having the same action-packed nights you are?" I shrug. "I don't know. I keep seeing this really skinny kid with curly black hair. He's wearing one of our pendants, so I have to assume he's one of us. We're aware of each other, but things in the dream seem to be tailored for him in some ways, and to me in others. I see you in these visions, too." Nine frowns, then opens his chest and digs around inside. I'm hoping he's going to pull out something that will help me decipher my visions, help me figure out what, if anything, I'm supposed to do with them. I'd like to try to contact the others with the red stone, but I guess the government has it tapped somehow, which is total bullshit. He sits back looking frustrated. I walk across the empty car to where he's sitting. He has a yellow cube in his hand that I've never seen before. "What do you think it means, if the government has your stone tapped? How do you think it happened? I mean, it must have been the Mogs, but how did they convince the government to work with them?" Nine looks at me incredulously. "Are you serious? Who cares why they're working together or what the Mogs had to say to get them to their side? The point is, they are working together. The U.S. government and the Mogadorians have teamed up. For them, it is official. We are the bad guys." But the Mogs will destroy Earth, or worse, once they get rid of us. Doesn't the government know this? Isn't it obvious that we're the good guys? Apparently not. Who knows how it happened? Maybe they're just using each other, both trying to double-cross the other. Whatever it is, the government has to be underestimating the Mogs. If they weren't, they'd be scared out of their frickin' minds. 9 places the yellow cube in his mouth. A look of satisfaction appears on his face. What is that? I ask. Sustenance, he says, his voice garbled. It's a food substitute. You suck on it and it fills you up for a little bit. Take a look. You might have one too. I unlock my chest and poke around for a yellow cube. My hands pass over the white tablet we found in Malcolm Good's hidden office in the well, and I take a second to press its buttons. Still dead. I push it aside. I don't find a yellow cube, but there's a blue one. I hold it out for him to see. Do you think this does the same thing? He shrugs. Don't know. Won't know till you try. Go for it. I hesitate for a few seconds, then place it on my tongue, and my mouth is immediately flooded with ice-cold water. I'm only able to drink a little before some goes down the wrong way, causing me to cough the stone out onto the floor. 9 spits his yellow stone into his hand and offers it to me, but I pass. You have to eat sometime, he says. Bernie Kosar walks over to 9 and opens his mouth. Sure, BK, 9 says obligingly, placing the yellow cube on the dog's tongue. At least we're headed west, where Sam and Sarah are. I'm sick of running and hiding. First things first, we find them. Yeah? Well, speak for yourself. I've been locked up and tortured for the past year, man. Being in motion, in control of where I am and when I'm going there is something I do not plan to give up anytime soon. Just relax, Johnny. I have an idea and you need to remember the plan. We're not wasting time finding your human friends. We contact the others and meet up, and when we're ready, we face the Drekas Ra. In that order. I turn and punch a hole in the side of the train car, and the impact causes the wheels on one side to momentarily lose their grip on the tracks below. I'm angry and feel like I'm spiraling out of control. How exactly are we going to meet up with them when our only means of communication might be monitored? I say we head for California, or whatever government facility is out west, and we demand they give up Sarah, or we'll start blowing stuff up. Or we threaten to tell the media that the government is working with a bunch of evil aliens. We'll see how well that goes over. 9 laughs, shaking his head. No. That's not going to happen. Well, shit. Then I don't know what to suggest. What if we go back to Paradise to see if maybe Sarah's there? If I can just see that she's safe, I promise I'll drop it. We have to be close to Ohio by now, don't we? 9 walks over to the hole I've created in the wall and peeks out. His voice is quiet when he speaks. It all looks the same to me, man. You know? Earth has nothing on Lorien. Sure. Earth looks pretty nice in some places, but Lorien was beautiful everywhere. It was the most beautiful planet in all the galaxies. You've seen how it used to be in your visions, right? I'm surprised with how impassioned he's suddenly become. Talking about Lorien, his face is as happy and relaxed as I've ever seen it. For the first time, I see a homesick kid, but it's fleeting. He quickly rearranges his face into its usual mask of snark and dismissal. We're not going to Ohio to see if another one of your humans is all cozy and safe. This is not our home. 4. These humans are not our brothers and sisters. Everything we do here on Earth is for our real home, for our real brothers and sisters, for the elders who sacrificed their lives to put us on that ship. 9 steps back, swings, and punches another hole in the wall of the car, right next to mine. Unlike mine, his punch is so hard and so fast that the wheels underneath us don't shift. 9 sticks his head through the hole, and he breathes deeply, his black hair blowing and flapping in the wind. Then he pulls his head back inside. He clenches his fists and turns to look at me. If you don't have Lorien in your heart, then you should say so. Right now, I won't run around with a traitor. Our only goal is doing everything we can to be at full strength so we can defeat Drekas Ra and his army. That's it. Got it? I decide to remain silent. My feelings for Sam and Sarah will never subside. I know this. But 9 is right about what comes first. We are of help to no one if we do not increase our strength, and that only happens if we can find the others. I need to concentrate on Lorien. When we defeat Drekas Ra, Sam and Sarah, along with everyone else on Earth, will be okay. I nod. 9 sits down and closes his eyes, hands clenching his knees so tightly his knuckles are white. We just passed a sign I recognize. We're a couple 100 miles away from the safe house my C-Pan set up. We can go there, order a pizza, maybe watch a little TV. You can sit around and sigh and think sad thoughts about your poor lost Sarah. I will go out, find some hot chick to make out with for an hour or so. Then we'll figure out how to communicate with the rest in some other way. BK drops the yellow cube out of his mouth and looks up at me. He doesn't even have to ask. I place my blue cube on his tongue and he closes his mouth and sighs happily. I look over at 9. He's so sure of himself, so confident. And how are we going to do that? That the macrocosms are tapped. We have no other way to communicate with them. No, this is perfect, 9 says, getting excited. Wait until you see my place 4. It's totally badass. Whatever we want, we'll have. Whatever we need, we'll get. We'll rest and train. We'll be in the most amazing shape, ready for whatever comes at us. And we will figure out a way to get in contact with the rest of the guard. Chapter 13. I lie awake for hours, sitting and watching the fire outside the hut. Inside, Ella sleeps on a hammock. Six and Creighton snore under blankets on the floor. After a while, the fire goes from a raging and crackling blaze to glowing embers. I watch the smoke waft the air, drifting to hang around beneath a canopy of trees. Eventually, the fire dies out entirely. I just can't sleep. For so many years, I was alone with my envy and anger, trapped in that orphanage. Now, finally, I can let it go. Now I believe there's nothing we can't do with all of us together. So I don't know why I still feel this pit in my stomach whenever I get a moment to think. I know what the pit is, too. I feel lonely. But I'm not alone, I keep telling myself. I look over at 8, sleeping as close as he can to the fire for warmth. In the early morning light, all curled up, he looks small. He sleeps restlessly under a thin blanket of twisted vines. I watch him toss and turn, running his hands through his already messy hair. I stroke the coals to create as much heat as possible, and the crackle is enough to make him stir. I don't know why, but I feel protective of him. At the same time, I think about his muscular arms and I want him to protect me. Must be something about opposites attracting. He's playful, and I am, well, not. Creighton's forehead is creased with worry when he finally gets up and wakes the others. We all try to shake off the sleep cobwebs as quickly as possible. I know Creighton is wondering how he's going to get us all on a plane. My thoughts turn to 8's vision of Sithrakis Ra. He poses the greatest threat of all, even more than a bunch of well-armed Mogs. I know Creighton doesn't think we're ready to face Sithrakis Ra. We haven't developed our legacies enough. We haven't had a chance to learn how to fight together, and we must find 4, 5, and 9 before we face a threat like Sithrakis Ra. When I said as much last night, 8 shook his head, frustrated by all the skepticism. I know we could take him together, he said. I've seen him in my dreams and felt his power. I know what he's capable of, but I also know what we are capable of, and it is far greater than anything he could ever be. I believe in us, but it won't happen if we aren't all convinced. I agree. We do need to bring down Sithrakis Ra, but first we need to find the others. The chances of beating him are far better if we're all together. I could hear worry in Creighton. Oh, that was Creighton's line. My bad. 8 stood firm, clearly believing we're enough to take him. My dreams have guided me to you all, and they tell me we can do this. We can't run away, even if it is to find the others. Now 8 stands and stretches, revealing a bit of his stomach as his shirt lifts. He leans down and picks up a walking stick and twirls it in his hands. I can't take my eyes off of him. It's such a new and unusual feeling for me and makes me feel shy and excited at the same time. So, where do you want to go? He asks, looking around at all of us. East Coast, United States, 6 says. She kicks the bottom of his walking stick as it swings by and it flips up and into her hand. These two are quite the comedy duo. 6 throws the stick back to him, and he makes a big show of diving and missing it on purpose. Their play looks a lot like flirting. I have to admit, it makes me jealous. Even if I wanted to, I could never be this way with 8, with anyone. This is just how 6 is, easy. No wonder they're having so much fun. Okay, if that's where you want to go, we have a couple options. A plane? Do we have enough money to buy tickets for all of us? Creighton pats his pockets, nodding. That shouldn't be a problem. Great. We head back to New Delhi, buy some tickets, and we can be in the United States in a day or so. Or we could be in the State of New Mexico in just a few short hours. We can't all teleport, 6 points out, drawing in the dirt with her toe. Maybe we can, 8 says, a sly smile on his face. 6 has drawn a circle, and 8 reaches his foot over to add 2 eyes, a nose, and a big smiley face. They grin at each other. We just need to take a short walk. Then it's a simple matter of a giant leap of faith. He is clearly enjoying keeping us in the dark. I see the others nodding at him, so caught up in his confidence, they forgot to ask for any details. I don't want to be the one to point out we have no idea what he has in mind. Sounds a lot faster than a plane, Ella says, and a whole lot cooler. You've got my attention, Creighton says, hefting my chest up onto his shoulders. You need to show us what you're talking about. The quicker the better. If Sithrekus Ra is already here on Earth, we've got to move fast. 8 holds up a finger, telling Creighton to be patient. Then he pulls off his shirt and pants. Wow. Not before my morning swim, he says. 8 sprints to the edge of the cliff where the waterfall drops off. Without pausing, he dives with his hands out at the side. Like a bird, he seems to float, riding the waves of air. I rush to the edge of the cliff and look over the side, just in time to see him change shape and enter the water as a red swordfish, and then surface as himself. I suddenly get the urge to jump in too, and I follow him. The water is startlingly cool when I dive in, but when I come up for air, I can feel my face is flushed. What's going on with me? I'm not usually this impulsive. Nice dive, 8 says, swimming over and treading water close to me. He shakes his head and his black, glistening curls whip around his face. So, do you prefer being called Marina or 7? I don't care. Whatever, I say, feeling shy. I like Marina, he says, speaking decisively for both of us. Is this your first time in India, Marina? Yes, I was in Spain for a long time, in an orphanage. An orphanage, huh? At least you had lots of kids around you. You could make friends, not like me. I can see how lonely he's been. I decide not to correct him and tell him how all the other girls hated me and I had no friends until Ella showed up. I just shrug. I guess. I'm happier now. You know what? I like you, Marina, he says. It sounds like he's rolling my name around in his mouth, savoring it. You're quiet, but cool. You remind me of... Suddenly, there's a huge splash right between 8 and me. The waves rock us away from each other and I watch 6 emerge, her wet blonde hair falling perfectly down her back. She doesn't say a word, then dives back under the water, pulling 8 with her. I dive too and watch them wrestle underwater until 8, laughing, begs for mercy and 6 lets him go. Damn, you're strong, he says as he breaks the surface, coughing. And don't you forget it, she says, grinning. Now, can we please get out of here? The sight of 6 and 8 all tangled up makes me jealous, but this is not the time for it. I duck my head underwater to give myself a minute to pull myself together. I let the water enter my lungs and I sink and sink until my toes touch the muddy and rocky floor. I sit down in the mush and try to collect my thoughts. I'm angry at myself for feeling so vulnerable. This is a crush, nothing more. And do I really care if 8 prefers 6's perfect blonde hair to my mop? I mean, she isn't a threat to me. We have to work as a team, trust one another. I don't want to be angry with 6, especially after everything else she's done for me. For a minute, I pace around the bottom, hoping to come up with something witty to say when I surface. I can do this. I realize I'm directly under the spot where the waterfall enters the pool, where the water is clear and sparkling. The glint of something catches my eye. It's a long silver object stuck in the muddy floor. I go to take a closer look. It's maybe 15 feet long, and when I circle it, I'm stunned to realize it's some sort of cockpit behind a long windshield. That's when I see a chest, just sitting there on the seat inside. I can't believe it. Is it possible that this is the silver ship that 8 saw fly away the day that the Mogs attacked, the day that his sea-pan was killed? I hear a muffled cry and realize it's mine. I grab a handle on the fuselage and pull. It doesn't budge. The pressure at the bottom of the lake is so strong, but I keep pulling and soon the cockpit door swings open. A rush of water mixes with water that was trapped inside. The chest is slimy when I grab it and race for the surface. The first thing I see is 6 and 8 sitting in the grass and talking. Ella's twirling 8's walking stick over her head, then out in front of her. Creighton is watching Ella, his chin cupped in his hands. Ella sees me coming out of the water and spikes the stick into the grass. Marina! She calls. Hey, there you are. Where'd you go? 8 yells, coming over to the edge. Come on out, Marina, 6 calls. We really have to boogie now. I lift the chest up and out of the water, holding it aloft so they can all see it. I don't even care. The most revolting, mucky water is pouring off of it and onto my head. I'm grinning so wide my face hurts. I love the looks on their faces, mouths agape and eyes wide. I'm enjoying it so much I use my telekinesis to float the chest over to 8 and 6 and leave it there in midair. Look what I found, 8! 8 disappears from the grass and reappears up in the air next to the chest. He wraps his arms around it and hugs it, slime and all. Then he teleports back to the edge of the lake, the chest still in his hands. I can't believe it, 8 finally says. All this time it was right here? He looks stunned. It was inside a Mog ship. At the bottom of the lake, I say, walking out of the water. 8 disappears again and teleports directly in front of me, our noses practically touching. Before I can register how nice his warm breath feels on my face, he picks me up and kisses me hard on the mouth, and he twirls me around. My body stiffens and I suddenly have no idea what to do with my hands. I don't know what to do at all, so I just let it happen. He tastes salty and sweet at the same time. The whole world disappears and I feel as if I'm floating in darkness. When he sets me down, I pull back and look into his eyes. One glance, and I know this huge romantic moment was a spontaneous and grateful gesture for him. No more, no less. I'm an idiot. I really need to let this crush go. I never swim over there. From the start, I always dove off on the other side, 8 says, stuck in the same area. He shakes his head. Thank you, Marina. You're welcome, I whisper, still dazed by the first part of his thank you. Now that you've hugged it, hello, don't you want to open it? Creighton asks. Come on already. Oh, right, of course, 8 yells, and he teleports back to the chest. 6 walks toward me. Marina! That was so awesome! She hugs me, then pulls away to shake me by the shoulders, smiling at me meaningfully. In a low voice, she whispers, And am I seeing things, or did you just get kissed? Kinda weird, right? I whisper, watching her for any signs of jealousy. But I don't think it means anything. Not weird at all. I think it's kind of great, she says, clearly thrilled for me, like a friend or a sister. I'm ashamed of myself for feeling jealous of her earlier. We both look over at 8 as Ella begins to make a drum roll noise to announce the chest's opening. 8 has his palms on the lock. Almost immediately it shakes and the chest falls open. He quickly dives in, elbow deep, trying to touch everything all at once. He's like a kid in a toy chest. He's so excited. We all crowd around and watch. I can see some of the stones look like mine, but other items are completely different. There's a glass ring, a curved antler, a black piece of cloth that shimmers blue and red when 8 touches it. He grabs a thin piece of gold, the length of a pencil, and holds it up. Ah, good to see you again. What is that? 6 asks. I don't know its real name, but I call it the duplicator. 8 holds it above his head like a wand. Then he snaps his wrist and it expands out and down like a scroll. Soon it's the size of a door frame. He lets go, and the frame hovers in front of him. 8 steps behind, and we can see the occasional pair of hands and feet when he starts doing jumping jacks. Okay, 6 says. That is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. 8 teleports to her side and stands there, head cocked to the side as he scratches his chin, like he's judging a show. Our heads snap back to the golden door frame. The hands and feet are continuing their steady pace. Wait, there are 2 of him now. The one standing next to 6 claps, opens his palms, and the piece of gold contracts and zips back into his hand. Immediately, the second 8 disappears. Impressive, Creighton says, clapping his hands slowly and loudly. That will come in very handy sometime soon. At the very least, you will make an excellent distraction. I used it to sneak out of our house a few times, 8 admits. Reynolds never figured out what I could do, even before he died. I was always trying to figure out how to do the most with my legacies. Creighton throws 8's clothes to him and picks up my chest. Now, we really need to get going. Aw, come on, 8 says, pulling on his pants. As he hops about, he bats his eyes at Creighton and says in a wheedling voice, I just got my chest back. Can I get reacquainted with it? I've missed it so much. Later, Creighton says curtly. When he turns towards us, though, I can see he's smiling. 8 drops the piece of gold inside the chest and pulls out a green crystal, stuffing it into his pocket. He closes the chest and picks it up with a dramatic sigh. In his most pathetic voice he says, "Oh, all right, our reunion will just have to wait. Follow me, everybody." "How often has Setrekis Ra visited you in your dreams?" Creighton asks. We've been walking more than 5 hours, and we're making slow progress up the mountain. 8 is leading us up a winding path that is more ledge than road. There's a thin blanket of snow everywhere, and the wind is brutally strong. We're all freezing, but 6 protects us with her legacy, pushing the wind and snow out of our way. Weather control is one of the more useful legacies, that's for sure. "He's been talking to me for a while now, trying to trick me and get me to lose my temper," 8 says. "But now that he's on Earth, it's a lot more frequent. He taunts me, lies, and now he's trying to get me to sacrifice myself so that you all can go back to Lorien. He's been getting to me more than usual lately." "What does that mean exactly, getting to you?" Creighton asks. "Last night, in a vision, he showed me my friend Devden, hanging from chains. I don't know if it's a vision of something that's actually happening or just a trick, but it's really messing with my head." 4 sees him too, 6 chimes in. 8 spins around with a surprised look on his face and walks backwards, his mind clearly putting the pieces together. His foot comes dangerously close to slipping off the ledge, making me gasp and reach out nervously, but he never wavers as he continues. "You know, I think I saw him last night. I forgot about it until now. He has blonde hair, tall guy." "And better looking than you. Yup, that's him," 6 says with a smile. 8 stops backpedaling and looks thoughtful. The drop-off to our left is almost 2,000 feet. "You know, I always assumed it was me, but I guess I was wrong," he says thoughtfully. "Assumed you were what?" I ask, willing him away from the edge. "The member of the guard who would possess Pittacus Lore's powers." "Why would you think that?" Creighton asks. "Because Reynolds told me that Pittacus and Setrekis Ra were always able to communicate with each other, but now that I know 4 can too, I'm confused." 8 starts walking forwards, again when Ella asks, "What do you mean, possess Pittacus Lore's powers?" "Each of us is supposed to take on the roles of the original 10 elders, so I guess that means one of us will take on Pittacus's powers and roll." 4 Sepan told him so in the letter. I read it myself. Eventually, we're supposed to become even stronger than them. That's why the Mogs are moving so quickly now, before we become more dangerous, better able to protect ourselves and attack them. 6 looks over at Creighton, who is nodding as she speaks. I feel like I'm the only one who knows so little, nothing really, of my history. Adelina refused to tell me anything, to answer a single one of my questions, or even hint at what I would one day be capable of. Now, I'm so far behind everyone else, the only elder I even know of is Pittacus. Never mind knowing which one I might become. I just have to believe I'll figure out who I am when the time is right. Sometimes I get sad when I think about everything. I wish I already knew, and when I think about what my childhood should have been. But there's no time for me to mourn what can't be changed. Ella comes to walk with me, brushing her hand against mine. "You look sad. You okay?" I smile at her. I'm not sad, but I am mad at myself. I've always blamed Adelina for why I haven't developed my legacies the way that I might have. But look at 8. He lost a C-Pan, but took what he had and just kept working at it. We walk together in silence for a few more minutes until 8 speaks. "Do you ever wish the elders had given us our inheritance in locked backpacks instead?" 8 says, switching his chest to the other arm. I look guiltily at Creighton. I move to take my chest from him, but he just pushes me away gently. "I have it for now, Marina. Soon enough I'm sure you'll need it to bear its burden alone, but I'll help while I can." We walk for another few minutes until the path along the ridge suddenly ends at a steep cliff. We're a few hundred feet from the peak, and I stare over at the Himalayas spread out to my left. The mountains are vast and seem endless. It's a breathtaking sight, one I hope I'll remember forever. "So, now where?" 6 asks, looking skeptically up at the mountain. "There's no way we can go straight up the peak. There don't seem to be a lot of other options, though." 8 points at 2 tall, hulking boulders leaning against the mountainside and then clenches his hand. The boulders separate, revealing a curved stone staircase that winds around and leads inside the rock face. We follow 8 up to the stairs. I feel both claustrophobic and vulnerable. If someone follows us, there's no way out. Almost there, 8 says over his shoulder. The stairs are so cold, their iciness seeps up through my feet and body. They finally lead us to a huge rock cavern that has been carved out of the mountain. We pour into it, gazing around in awe. The ceiling is a couple 100 feet high, and the walls are smooth and polished. Carved deep into one of the walls are 2 sets of vertical lines several feet high and spaced 5 feet apart. A small blue triangle sits between the 2 lines with 3 more curved lines carved horizontally above it. That was a difficult line to say. Is that supposed to be a door? I ask, following the lines with my eyes. 8 steps aside to let all of us see better. It's not supposed to be. It is a door. It's a door to the far corners of the earth. Okay, so that was the end of chapter 13. We're at about 36 minutes. I think I'm going to call it a video for now, and we will pick back up on chapter 14 in the next video. I'm just going to kind of make this one a little bit shorter so I can make sure that I read some of Stalking Jack the Ripper today as well, and then I will kind of repeat, go back and do another reading from The Rise of Nine, and then I'll start doing Nine's Legacy, because we've already met 9, so we can definitely do that. And then we'll go from there. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you can get all the videos that will be coming out shortly. I won't be making you wait anymore, so yay, I'm so happy about that. Hit the thumbs up if you like the video, and comment below, okay? I think that's it for now. So without further ado, that's it. Bye reading, bye read. Until next time. Bye.